Hello, Eric again. My last video was about shocks and I went pretty detailed with it, and I want to basically explain in one short video how to rebuild a shock. Okay, first thing you do is take the shock off the truck. Then you can pull this spring back, and there's a cup down there. It's got a little slot in it. It'll come right off the shaft. Pull the spring off. There's a top spring support. Take that off. Okay? Then take a pair of pliers. Hold the barrel of the shock. You don't have to hold it real tight. I normally take a pick and loosen up the cap. Take that out, set it to the side. Flip it around. Don't grab the shaft real tight, but then you can unscrew the eyelet off the end. Okay? Then you take your shock rod. You can push it up and out. Down on the bottom here, you can unscrew this. I usually have to use pliers, but I loosened everything up for the video. You know, down in the bottom here, there's a blue O-ring. There is a piece of plastic and another blue O-ring. That's the shock body. Up in the shock cap, there's a rubber diaphragm. Take your pick right on the side and it will pop out. Try not to put any holes in it. Okay, now I kind of made a view of what this little rubber piece looks like. This top piece here represents this shock cap. Okay, here's the threads. There's a little flat shelf, and then there's an indent above that. When you reassemble this shock, you'll see how there's a dome on that rubber. That will fit up in here. And this piece here goes right up on here and right here. So the dome goes down into the piston, into the shock piece. So to reassemble this, now as you're doing this, when you pop the little rubber piece out, make sure there's no oil up in your shock cap or on the back of the rubber. The way I normally do this is I take the rubber with the dome facing out, and I put it in there and I take a pick and I walk it around. You go around it a couple times, because sometimes when you put the rubber piece in, it will slip up into this corner. You don't want that, because then your shocks are going to leak. So make sure it's flat here and here. Okay? So then the shock body. Take your blue O-rings. O-ring first. Put it in there. Flatten it out. Take the little black plastic piece. Put that in there. Take your last shock O-ring and stick it right in the very end. Okay? Then there's this cap that went on the end. Screw it down till it hits, but don't tighten it yet. Now it's time to put the piston back in. Now normally if I got to replace the shocks, they sell gold shock shafts that I believe they're made out of titanium, and they are a lot stronger and they're pretty cheap. Okay? Push that through, go all the way down. You can put your eyelet back on the end. Now you can tighten this piece up. Because when you tighten that up, it'll squish the O-rings on the shock shaft. Now to fill up the shock, take the little blue plastic thing out of there. pull the shock shaft all the way down. Take your oil and fill up your shock. When it gets about 1/8 inch from the top, take your shock shaft and run it up and down slowly. And when you're doing that, you're going to see air bubbles coming up through your piston. Run it up and down until the air bubbles are gone. And then raise the shock up almost all the way to the top. Then you top off the rest of the oil. And you want it, can you see a little bit of a dome of oil on there? Yeah. Okay, that's about how you want it. Then you take your shock cap and you put it on straight. Be careful not to cross thread it. Thread it all the way down, tighten it up, and you will feel the shock resistance because of the oil. Okay, then you take your shock spring holder, you put that on. Take your shock spring, put that on, hold it like this. Take the bottom shock spring holder, put it on the bottom. Now that shock is ready to go. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.